way whatsoever?
Yes. I know.
You don't remember that.
English is the official language in Liberia.
Let's go to science because those are the two subjects.
SCINC. Science is the cell of.
What is photosynthesis?
Eh?
Photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis. What English we put together.
That's correct. That's the definition of photosynthesis. Okay. So you tell the students maybe, or you're not sure.
It's what you're saying. You say what? Repeat.
I say when the student asks you a question and you're not sure, you tell them maybe, or you answer the question.
Well, maybe I will tell them. Say sorry.
Okay, they have to do research on their own.
Right. Have a research.
You're a good speller. You're a good speller. That I can't take from you. You spell well. You spell well. I like the idea that you can spell well. Spell president. Where?
P-R-E-S-R-D-E-N-T. President.
Where?
What?
Where?
Yeah.
The president, the current president. Spell his name.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, no. Let me hear. Yeah. George.
That's not how.
P-O-R-G. Yeah, I'm here. I'm a speller.
Earlier, I saw you say you're welcoming President George Weah to Kwadu Boni.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because he have done everything for me. Right? George Weah was born 1966.
You know all of that?
1966. George Mana Weah. 1966 Maria.
The way he was born.
Now, so why?
So the man wanted for you to go steal from the web post.
Yeah, he said I'm a join to go steal to the web minister to get money to the store there. Go take it from there. I said, "Mama, how many bad for the same lecture?
And how can the people catch you now?
The people, before the man call me back on the 18th. Yeah, the same one. The same one. Yeah, government 18th. Now I'm 8:30. He said, "I go, and then I lecture me and call you by. You go to work. Go to work. If you go to the man, yeah, I'm from now. Where you go to start? Now go to the man. So go see now. No, I'm go see. I'm go see. But we are go up. Yeah.
When they welcome me, they say that I'm
When they welcome me, they say that I'm still questioning me, doubling the question. I'll be the talk. I bet you can.
what kind of people is
When they call you the man, when they call me the man,
what kind of people is
they have me working to
freedom fighter you rape in our women. Freedom fighter you kill in our children. Freedom fighter you destroy in our country.
Okay, what a wonderful way to welcome you to the weekend's edition of the program, The Nation's View. The Nation's View is a 1 hour, 30 minutes of interactive discussion. And on The Nation's View, we talk schools of national issues. My name's Washington Prince Tapper Jr. Today happens to be a wonderful and remarkable conversation. We're going to be having a panel discussion with schools and fleets of panelists to talk about a variety of national issues. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the methodology to curb the spread of corruption in Liberia, coupled with the president's actions and decision towards fighting corruption. In studio, we have the senior colleague, Waxin Jackson. This year, we will also be having Daniel Harris Jackson Waxon Johnson, I'm sorry. We'll also be having Harris Jackson, and we'll also be having Thomas Sankara Johnson, and the Unity Party man is here, Lawrence Compton, the guy who speaks for the Unity Party District Number 16 chapter. He's in our studios, but I trust that is going to be formidable. It's going to be an auspicious interaction here this wonderful afternoon. So the program you're listening to is called The Nation's View. The Nation's View is also open for partnership and collaboration. So we roll it. We anticipate the arrival of 2 other panelists, but we are going to kickstart the show because time is our worst enemy, and we're not going to wait for the other panelists because we don't have the luxury of time to do that as well. So we're going to rumble into the discussions of today. Let's be able to prepare ourselves to get to Studio B to talk to senior colleague Waxon Jackson and that of Lawrence Compton. I'm disappointed in the 2 of them anyway. Today's Valentine's Day. I don't see any semblance of Valentine. Senior colleague Waxon didn't wear anything like he didn't wear anything like Valentine, but when we get to that, so let's try to bring down the music and get to Studio B to talk to our panelists. It's just of this, and we get to Studio B to talk to our panelists. All right, so what a welcome way to bring you back to the weekend's edition of the program, The Nation's View. The Nation's View is one of our Skies FM flagship programs, and we're here, and we're good. So let's cross to studio number 2 to welcome in our panelists. Let's start with senior colleague Waxon Jackson. It's a pleasure to have you here today, sir.
Thank you so much, Washington. The name is Johnson.
Oh, Waxon. I'm thinking about Harris. Yeah. So Waxon Johnson, senior colleague Waxon Johnson. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your observation is quite correct. I'm not wearing red. There is no justification for that.
Exactly.
But I think love is everlasting. It is not an event. We see people wearing red, the next day confusion, the next day chaos.
You try to justify
this love excursion. It's a continuous process.
Okay.
You don't find a particular day in a year to love someone. But I've seen some colleagues. In fact, you in a red cap. Well, it's a very good observation. Next year I will be in red.
Okay. That's a beautiful one. Let's go to Lawrence Compton. Mr. Compton, welcome. It's a pleasure having you as always.
Well, thank you, Washington. And let me begin by extending thanks to the management of SCAR and the entire workforce. SCAR has been one of our best radio stations that we have trust and credit in when it comes to communication. And this place has been our home. I think some 3 weeks ago, our year. Again, it is a pleasure sharing table with senior brother Waxon to look at wide range of national issues as they unfold in our society.
Exactly.
It is my pleasure being with you, Paul.
It's always our pleasure having like minds like you to come on and talk about the different national issues and issues of concern. We'll keep the conversation with Mr. Johnson, Waxon Johnson. Our entire conversation today will be cycled around, corruption. This is one of the biggest menaces in the country since the post-war Liberia. That has eaten the fiber of the society, that has made the Liberian people to keep the continuous observation of you know, the normal day-to-day poverty and, you know, just the Norman style. Let's talk about the post-war Liberia in line with corruption. Then we go into the meat of what we are here for today. So I give you 2 minutes to tell Liberians listening to you on this wonderful day. How has we been able to deal with corruption since the post-war era? Has Liberian government been able to deal with corruption to be able to positively affect, you know, the vast majority of the population? How has we, because corruption was the reason why we went to war. We came back from war, you know, and settled all of the misunderstandings. And then here we are again. We're still grappling with the issue of corruption. We're still discussing corruption. We're still talking about corruption. So how has, you know, corruption impacted this country, Mr. Johnson?
Washington, again, I want to say thank you for extending me the invitation to be one of your panelists. I appreciate the Sky FM communication family. Yes, you know, if we are to define corruption, and according to the Webster Collegiate Dictionary, corruption is the art of being dishonest.
Okay.
All right. So a corrupt society undermines a lot. Talk about development, you know, progress, you can name them. So corruption destroys the fabric of a society because money intended for development,
Yes, you're right.
when that money is siphoned or diverted in the pockets of individuals, it undermines growth. So I would say to you that yes, because of the same corruption, there was a coup. Samarkand Do staged a coup saying that the then Chuwe party was involved into corruption, and he staged the coup. But what has changed since the coup in 1980?
1980 coup.
Okay, so what has changed? Well, let me go back to the question. I would say, in fact, corruption became more rampant under the Dose administration. The issue about favoritism, nepotism, you know, thing went from bad to worse.
Okay.
The war came, okay, and we fought senseless war in this country. And Madam Salif became president. I would say to you, on her administrations, there were attempts, there were efforts, there were reforms, and all intended to curb, to minimize corruption. Because I can't sit there and say we can eradicate corruption.
No.
It is not possible to eradicate corruption. So they came with all these reforms. I can say to you, from where I sit, it is not just possible now, right? For things to be as usual or business as usual. So under the Madam Salif administration, they came up with all these reforms. Today we have the Public Procurement Concession Commission. Today we have the Public Financial Management Law.
Yes.
That came to being in 2009 under the Madam Salif administration. So despite all these reforms, Madam Salif herself openly confessed that corruption was public enemy number one. And whether she succeeded in the fight against corruption, all I can say is that with some of the policies, some of the systems put in place, today we have the code of conduct.
The code of conduct. These are all methodologies to curb corruption. Yeah, you're right.
In fact, asset declaration. That before you enter government, you must declare your assets. Exiting government, you must declare your assets.
Yes.
Today we're talking about the suspension of over 400 officials of government, right? So all I can say is that another reform we'll talk about. Today we have the Internal Audit Agency, where that comes from. The first public entity in the line when it comes to the fight against corruption. So yes, past governments and current governments, have they made efforts to curb corruption, to minimize corruption? I would say yes. But along the line, I would come up with other, conversation that can spice the debate. But all I can say is that there has been mixed views that past governments never had the political will in terms of fighting corruption because of connection, because of family connection, and blah, 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 blah. But moving along the line, I would say right now in Liberia, corruption, look, if you make any attempt to steal public money, you'll be exposed.
From now. Moving
if
forward.
you make any attempt to steal public money, you'll be exposed.
We will get to that. Let's get to Lawrence. Lawrence, how has the fight against corruption impacted our country since the post-war Liberia?
Well, Washington, if you look at corruption, corruption by war, it is a universal virus. Corruption is a universal virus. As such, many countries around the world, they catch it difficult in fighting it. But if you look at our contemporary Liberian setting that you try to place it in, I think in time past, like you talk about our post-war era, since we came from the post-war era, corruption perhaps have been a way of life. It has been a way of life to the extent
it's been a custom.
To the extent, even to establish egalitarian society where the wealth of a country will go across each and every citizen. It is extremely difficult because the tendency of corruptions undermine a lot of things. It undermine job creations, it undermine building roads, it undermine hospital, and you just name all of those social contributions government should be giving to its citizens. So, like what Washington have outlined, since we came from the post-war era, we saw a lot of corrupt institutions that were enacted by law, emulating from the GSC, emulating from the RCC, and all of the people,
PPCC.
the PPCC, and all of the people has been the referee to see how best we can mitigate and fight corruptions. But like I said, it has been a way of life in our country with the glaring fact of all these institutions. Yet and still, corruption was at its zenith. Our then president admitted that in fact, corruption now have become a vampire proliferating through the principal street of Monrovia with Netta. That statement is there, verbatim, by former President Salif. And as such, at certain point in time, she took shared responsibilities of some corrupt issues. Subsequently, former President Salif left. The then real regime king, and in fact, it's somewhat sorted where different government and the abuse of state form have increased more than how many times in terms of multiplication.
But why we went to war?
Let me give the breakdown.
That's what I'm saying. Because we went to war to curb corruption.
Washington, we've gone to war on the basis of corruption, injustices, and usually the rest. So former President Salif left the phrase thinking that the then real regime could come and fight it, not eradicating it, place it on a navigate it at certain level. But to our almost surprise, corruption has elevated at certain level to the extent you listen to former President Weah interview with a Al Jazeera journalist. When he was questioned on the basis of asset declaration, he stated in that interview. He stated in that interview that asset declaration was a private something that the public need not to know. That in its own set undermined the fight in corruptions. And from that statement, it took almost 2 years before the president could declare his action. Today, just in 1 year, some more, we saw 457 government officials that have been suspended on the basis of failing now to declare their access. And that undermines good governance, and under good governance, We look at two basic components.
You have 30 seconds.
Transparency and accountability. So when you think that you come into government, tell the Liberian people, this is what I get. But don't come to government and set after 3 years before you come back to declare asset. Nobody will say that.
So that means, Lawrence, in a nutshell, before we get to Sankara, that means corruption has had a total negative impact on our country, and our going to war was absolutely useless because we did not curb corruption.
No, we are getting there now from this era. From the era